So it's fantastic to have Dr. Daniel with me today. We've worked very closely for a very relatively brief period of time, but he was a surgeon that I wanted to incorporate in everything that I do and make people aware of him. He's a fantastic surgeon, an IAHRS accepted member, been performing state-of-the-art hair restoration for a number of years. But it's fantastic to have him on board. Ape Gentleman's 2026 edition of the best hair transplant doctors in the world. And, he truly gets what the article's main message is about, which is education. So, Doc, what does this kind of recognition mean to you personally and professionally, in the sense that just being involved in this very well-known article? And how do
Yeah.
you think that education, both kind of in the profession and for patients, can help raise standards for us?
Well, first of all, I think it's just a great honor to be part of this article, and really a great honor to be working with you. And
Thank you.
it's incredible how much insight you have into the industry, and I think my perspective, you are showcasing me as one of the best in the world, but without being cocky or kind of filled with too much pride. I really feel that what I'm doing is unique. I have kind of a background in business. I got an MBA, and one of the biggest things I learned from that was about efficiency, and it's something that we work on every day. So this efficiency model is better for the patient. It's better for the grafts. It lowers the amount of medications we have. It's better for the recovery. Um, and basically what it means is we have a dedicated team with me as the leader. We have multiple providers that can extract and place at the same time and do kind of large cases in a very quick time. It's 10 o'clock right now, and we've almost completed a 1,500 graft case from the beard to the heads. Again, it all is about efficiency in doing things correctly.
Fantastic, man. Well, and that's why you've been a part of Specs Hair and you are a part of H Gentleman's, best hair transplant surgeons in the world, because you are, renowned for being super efficient, super ethical, super honest. And, what is vital is the patients get truly educated prior to coming in for a hair transplant with you, so they know exactly what to expect, which is incredibly important, especially today with hair restoration, because everybody just wants that quick fix. They're not fully informed with what they're embarking on. And you and your clinic are very well known for making sure that patients have done their due diligence and that they are fully informed before going under the knife. And education is a success driver, and you've emphasized that patient and practitioner education is key to the long-term success of the hair transplant. And can you expand on how you integrate education into your practice, and both you and your team, to your patients on a daily basis? What are the kind of
Sure.
arms that you utilize?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm talking from my podcast studio, which is located in my office. So we do a lot of YouTube work, a lot of Instagram work to get the message out. We're not doing cutesy things or salesy things. We're really trying to find different aspects of the market. It's such a varied aspect. It could be African style hair versus Caucasian hair versus Asian hair, scars, beard work, getting full coverage where there's a lot of hair loss, let's say like a Norwood 6 or 7. So finding those little niches and determining kind of what the needs are, because everybody is not the same by far.
Indeed.
There are different densities of the donor sites, different grades of hair as far as coarseness and thickness, curl. Everyone has a different head design. Some have a really narrow, kind of longer head. Some have a really wide and kind of flatter head. And all of this has to be taken into account when you're coming up with a game plan. So, for me with the podcast and doing kind of the YouTube and Instagram work, we're really just trying to get people to know what we're about, but also kind of give hope. I just find a lot of the doctors out there that have more of a cookie cutter, kind of individualized approach, dash people's hope. I talked to somebody last night. We plan on doing 6,000 or 7,000 grafts on his head. He's a Norwood 7. but we're going to be doing beard and body hair. And he had seen 4 or 5 other doctors that said it's just not possible. If somebody does it, it's going to look terrible. And that's just not true. So
Mhm.
I think from my perspective, education is about giving people hope in a realistic manner. I'm not there to offer false hope or do things that are out of line or putting people at risk. And it just comes with experience, and it comes with kind of a different mindset going into it. One that is kind of working for the patient, considering a lot of things to make the operative experience easy and the post-operative experience easy.
And I'm assuming, obviously, given that the ability to showcase similar examples to a patient that you've just mentioned to show them what is actually possible, and in order to keep their expectations realistic, but yet give them that insight into what you can achieve for them. Hey, so I'm assuming you've been able to to show this potential patient in question a variety of different results.
Absolutely. We have a great way of communicating with our patients with different tools that we use. A lot of my patients are really into stealth. I mean, 70% of the patients that I do, we do a no shave or shaveless FUE. I don't do FUT. That's just kind of the business model that I have. But we're doing more and more long hair, what's called preview long hair, which is unbelievable. I think that is where we'll be moving more and more in the future. If you look at kind of immediate results immediately following the procedure, and not to mention the sheer accuracy, people don't realize that the hair that we pull from the back is very, very curly. It's like a periscope.
Mhm.
And so, you don't want to be placing hair with the curl backwards if you can help it. And even small adjustments of that hair when you're trying to get them all aligned with the preview long hair, it's extremely accurate. And then when we dial in the angulation control, we do this all with direct hair implantation. So our team has really worked hard this last year to become more and more efficient. We talked about efficiency earlier. In
Mm.
doing long hair can really, I mean, it can be tough, and it can be a very long procedure if you don't have a line of organization and efficiency to make it happen. But the cool thing about the long hair is just the reactions that patients have. Spouses coming in the room, they're like, "Oh my gosh,"
We know, Doc, like with those long hair transplants,
Yes,
the majority of that hair does shed in the
yes.
initial process of
Mhm.
like, the shedding phase.
Yeah.
Obviously you educate those patients
Oh,
in that.
absolutely.
So they're getting a short-term glimpse of their end goal, but obviously it's bittersweet because they then go through a shedding process. Do all the hairs tend to shed, or is there a protocol in place to
I
kind of
think
set
it's
remain?
similar to doing any, shaved or shaveless. But, one of the aspects that I focus on, I've always done this in my practice, is to determine the needs of the patient. So oftentimes, when I talk to doctors at conferences and having undergone it myself, I've had 3 hair transplants, and every time I had my head shaved. And, it's a difficult scenario when you have your head, especially fully shaved, to kind of be in a happy place, especially a week, 10 days, 2 weeks out. You have a weird haircut, you feel isolated. And my focus has always been on making this whole experience positive and easy. And having gone through it 3 times with a shaved head, I can tell you right now that my patients are much happier doing a shaveless procedure, a long hair procedure in those first 2 to 4 months or 2 to 4 weeks after the procedure. And that's really kind of a psychological minefield for a lot of people because they're healing, they don't know, then the grafts are the hair and then the grafts are shedding, and then it's dormant, and then you're hoping for the best, but it's delayed reactions. Kind of getting through that period where it's stealth, people don't need to know. I mean, I've had crazy stories where, you know, people haven't even told their spouse and they're sleeping in the bed next to them that night. So,
It's
it,
number one. I mean,
yeah,
after speaking and liaising with tens of thousands of patients over 20 years, it goes far to say it's the number one deterrent is the downtime associated with having the hair transplant, not the surgery itself, not the
no,
cost, not the geography. It is essentially the vast majority of people in an ideal world would want to have a hair transplant and get away with the fact that they've had a hair transplant. So I completely kind of understand and back you up with regards to the insight of the patient, because, nobody wants anybody to know that they've had this surgery done. But I know we're
Exactly.
pressed for time, Doc, but what I want to do in line with that is kind of
Yeah.
into setting expectations, which is a massive component when it comes down to education, ethical guidance, and being transparent. And I mean, what are the most common misunderstandings hair transplant patients have when they, kind of first walk through your door? And how do you educate them and align them with the expectations and real outcomes that can be achieved?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is people over research this. Now,
Mm,
I'm not putting that down or, casting it aside, but once you choose somebody, I think it's important to actually let the provider do the rest of the education for you.
mm,
I find that when people are over researched, I mean, I've had people that have literally been online, watching you, Spencer, different outlets for 5 years before deciding on doing 1,000 grafts. I mean, that's a lot of work and a lot of time to do. 1,000 grafts. So I think it's important to have a perspective. And again, once you find that doctor, whether it's myself or somebody else, and you have a comfort level, rely on their information and don't geek yourself out before the procedure. But the other aspect with doing research is that people compare themselves to others. So I have patients either email me pictures or bring in pictures the day of the procedure and say, "Hey, I want my hairline just like this." And it's like, okay, their head is totally different in form. They have a different textured hair. We have a huge project to do, and some people come with a Norwood 5 or 6 where they might need 4 or 5,000 grafts, and packing in a hairline is really not the best idea. Um, I think patients, in my advice generally, is just settle down and try and think of yourself and not compare yourself to others, because it really sets expectations in a bad direction.
yeah, I fully endorse that. I think it's really important that patients listening to this that realize that you know, a lot of surgeons that I work with, including yourself, there's a reason that you're incredibly ethical, honest, skillful, and it's important that patients don't try to control their own surgery. Have questions, but when patients start to get into the devil of how big is the punch size and X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
it's like, probably delving a little bit too deep in there. So
Yeah.
that's a really, really good point that you've made there, Doc.
Yeah. Now I get those questions a lot. Or how many follicles can you place in a square centimeter? Things like that. And
Yeah.
again,
It's
it gets down.
not necessarily appropriate to a certain candidate. They come in with preconceived ideas. I want 150 hairs per square centimeter.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like, buddy, your hair isn't that already.
Oh,
It's,
I
it's
know.
denser than it is
Yeah.
existing.
And I have to explain it in terms that kind of change to something that might make sense. So if you have a large room and you have like a bad, let's say you have a large area of hair loss, and you have a kind of a poor donor supply, then it's like painting a room, a large room, and you just have a quart or less than a gallon of paint. I mean, you can put it on real thick in one area, you're just not going to have enough to cover the rest of the room. So that's the same way with hair transplant. If we densify things, and you have to be careful where we're not creating like strong ribbons of hair, where the old days it was you'd put them backwards so that you could just comb it straight back and cover everything. But that's just not something that people desire anymore.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. Keep up the great work, and
Thank you.
well done for yet again being involved in H Gentleman's Best Hair Transplant Surgeon in the World article. And look forward to speaking with you soon.
Sounds great. I appreciate you.
Thanks, man.